What do you do if you're giving a presentation and all of a sudden people ask questions or they have objections? How do you keep that from sidetracking your presentation? Well, time out for a minute. Remember, it's not your presentation. It's the audience's presentation. You already know this stuff. You're talking to them to help your audience. So when someone asks you a question, you got to really listen and ask yourself, is this relevant to what I'm talking about? Have I been confusing people? And if this person doesn't understand it, maybe no one in the room does. This person just did me a huge favor because I've been confusing. And now, by this person asking the question, I can give another example. I can tell another story. I can give more detail to flesh this concept out. So realize your audience asking a question, posing an objection, could be the best thing that ever happened to your presentation. I do recommend that you listen to questions unless you're in front of 10,000 people and you've been told you've got exactly 10 minutes and it's too unwieldy. But most of the time for most people, if you're giving a business presentation or any other type of civic presentation, and there's 30 people or fewer, if someone asks a question, I beg you, don't say, please hold all questions till the end, or please submit your questions in writing. That's overly formalistic and it just shuts people down. It makes them feel like this guy doesn't really care about me. This woman doesn't care about me. It's just a monologue and I got to sit here in my hands. Or maybe I should check my cell phone, email, and text. You don't want that. You want people engaged. The best speeches are more like dialogues, not monologues. So you need to give people an opportunity to ask a question. Could it get out of hand? Of course it could. If someone wants to ask a third question, a fourth question, you can always say to the person, hey, I respect your line of reasoning so much, I want to give you the time you deserve. Can you meet me after the presentation in the back there by the coffee machine? And that gracefully doesn't offend the person and allows you to get back with your presentation. If you want to be more successful, then improve your communication skills. The best way to do that? Smash the subscribe button right now. It's always possible for someone to ask a question that is so irrelevant to what you're talking about. Everyone else in the audience would be thinking, what a waste of time. And maybe you even see them rolling their eyes. I think at that point, you can say, I'd be happy to chat with you after that about that topic without seeming rude. But so often the questions are because you, the speaker, said something unclear. You, since you already know the subject, understand it, and you were making jumps in logic that were too fast for your audience. It's not that they're dumb, but you're the expert on what you're speaking about. They're not the expert. So when someone asks a question, think of it this way. They are helping you build a better presentation. You introduce concept A, you've now gone to concept B, and they're like, oh, wait a minute. Tell me more about concept A. I don't understand this part. That question helps you fine-tune your presentation. You can give them a detailed answer. Because here's the one thing we know. If someone is asking a question of you, we know at that moment, that one person in the audience is profoundly interested in what's going on in the room right now. That's a good sign. Our number one problem with most presentations we give is that everyone is bored. People are checking their cell phones and they don't care much about what you're saying or anything else that's going on. So the sheer fact that they're asking a question is usually a good sign. It means they're listening to you. It means they're trying to understand something. And maybe they're asking a question, but really it's an objection. Now we got a little debate. Now, I'm not saying every presentation you give has to turn into some huge, giant political debate. We don't want people yelling, obviously. But a little bit of tension can be a good thing. A little bit of a disagreement can be a good thing. It's okay to let someone have a different opinion. You present your opinion, but then you got to take charge and go on. And sometimes you may have to say, I'll be happy to debate that with you by the coffee pot when we're officially done, but we've got to be respectful of everyone else's time here. And then keep going. You want people listening to you. You want people trying to understand you. When someone asks a question, quite often it's because they're trying to have a deeper understanding of what you're talking about. So I love questions. It means the audience is engaged, even if they have a question where they disagree with me. What you don't want is everyone sort of sitting there passively listening to everything you say and their faces are blank. That's a problem. I need you to be aware of and looking for questions even when people don't raise their hands. Sometimes you see the look on their face. You can tell they're confused. Don't wait for them to raise their hand. You can say, I can tell from some of your looks on your face, it seems like I've done a poor job of explaining this. Let me try again. And maybe you get another example, another story, another detail to flesh that point out. It's extraordinarily valuable, free focus group research when you're speaking in front of a live audience, whether they're sitting right in front of you or it's online and you can see their faces through Zoom. Use that valuable focus group research. Every question can make your presentation better. Every quizzical look on someone's face is an opportunity for you to do a quick refinement, another example, another case study to build this. Remember, it is not your presentation. It is your audience's presentation. You want questions. You want engagement. Now, you can always say, if someone's asked one or two questions, say, fantastic questions. We'll have time at the end to go into all the Q&A, and that will be the first one I address. That's another way of not offending someone, not turning things into a confrontation. Every so often, someone will ask a question, and it's really not a question. It's simply an opportunity for them to make a speech. If you're the moderator, you can say, look, do you have a question there? That's really a speech. If you're the speaker, I wouldn't do that. It's too confrontational. It can make that person feel like they've been verbally slapped down. What I would do in most cases is listen. If they keep on going, I would then interrupt, not by saying you're making a speech. I would interrupt by saying, you raise a number of interesting points that we simply don't have time to go into right now. I will talk to you at length about all of these things when the formal presentation is over. That's how I would handle that issue. For a lot of people, it's scary. What if somebody asks me a question I don't know the answer to? Guess what? You can say, I don't know. As long as you don't look embarrassed, as long as you don't look uncomfortable or annoyed or frightened or scared, no one's going to remember that you don't know. You can always say, I don't know. I do know who does know, and I'll find out and get back to you. That's another way of handling questions. What I really want you to do is develop this mentality of, I welcome questions. I want questions. I want this to be a group communal experience because that is the best presentation of all.